At this point, I want to say more about why public service matters to me on a personal level. For me, politics matters because policy matters. And policy matters because people matter. To paraphrase one of my political heroes, the late Senator Paul Wellstone of Minnesota, the true purpose of politics is or should be about the improvement of people's lives. When I was 10 years old, my father had a massive heart attack that nearly killed him. Thanks to paramedics who didn't give up on him, and after a quadruple bypass surgery, he survived. But the surgery and his weakened health left him unable to continue his job as a chef. Without income during his recovery, he lost his apartment, his van was repossessed, his medical-related debt later forced him to file for bankruptcy. Without a place to live, unable to physically continue as a chef, he ended up setting up at a flea market, buying and selling things during the days, and camping in a tent behind his table at nights. Eventually, he recovered enough that he was able to work again as a handyman and independent contractor for families all over the Upper Valley and find an apartment of his own. Now, I want to be very clear. My father was one of the strongest people I ever knew. And I've never known anyone who worked harder than him, as those who knew him will attest. But even the strongest, hardest working people get knocked off their feet sometimes. And it's at those moments that we see what our society is made of, how our government works, and who it works for. It was only because of Democratic policies, like Social Security disability insurance, that my dad didn't end up in a worse situation after his heart attack. But he should have also been able to focus on recovery without losing his apartment. And unable to work full-time in the job he had before, he should have been able to work part-time at another job without having to contend with the benefits cliff and the prospect of losing his disability insurance. I have a memory of my dad lying in that tent behind the flea market, the scars from his surgery still very visible on his chest, trying to fall asleep, his breathing labored. Today, I often think about how many Vermonters are facing similar crises, laying awake and worrying about their ability to continue in their job or whether their paycheck can meet their most basic needs in this difficult and inequitable economy where the gains are going to the 1% and the rest of us are left to contend with rising prices. Worrying about where you will live and how much it costs to rent or try to buy a home. Unsure of whether you can afford childcare, if you can find an opening at all. I believe that the test of political leaders is not how hard they work for the well-off. The true test of political leadership is how effectively we work for the working class, especially in their moments of need. I'm running for state senate because I'm committed to always looking out for and standing up for the working people of Vermont. Vermonters like my dad and Vermonters in the situations I just described. Salt of the earth, hardworking people who don't ask for much, but who deserve policymakers in the State House who will have their back and will work to make things better. And not just in times of crisis, but systemically so that fewer moments of crisis occur. I believe in the need to preserve and strengthen a social safety net to help catch families when they get knocked off their feet, often through no fault of their own. I believe in the need to preserve and expand policies that give families a hand up when they need it most. But we also need to reform our economic policies so that fewer people are in those situations in the first place. No one should work full-time and not be able to afford basic living expenses. And no one, whether they can work or not, should be told you're on your own. We need to ensure a baseline of human dignity for all Vermonters, affirming that we are in this together. And that's why I'm running, because I believe that doing these things is a core responsibility of our government, led by politicians we elect to craft policy on our behalf. Again, politics matters because policy matters, and policy matters because people matter.